Hello guys, and more than a month ago, Ukraine has started our special military operation to Kursk region of the Russian Federation, and it successfully continues. According to the deep state map, 3 more villages are now under the control of Ukrainian soldiers, and most importantly, Russian population give up the positions of Chechen soldiers who actually caused them many more troubles than Ukrainian presence. Most importantly, attacks continue on other regions of Russia, including Moscow and Murmansk, that is very far away from the Ukrainian border. Putin, as a cornered rat, tries to blackmail the world, but I hope more and more people realize the only way to end this nightmare is with the defeat of Russia and imprisonment of Putin. Let's discuss the most important events of this week from an ordinary Ukrainian perspective. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, demonstrate your solidarity with us, and help us debunk Russian fakes, which are actually very dangerous and toxic for your countries too. And unfortunately, world still underestimates Ukraine and overestimates Russia. When I look at the interviews of President Zelensky and how many global leaders tried to stop his Kursk military operation after it started, believing we cannot make it, I realize many more videos needed to persuade people that Russia's image of the second strongest army in the world, and now actually second strongest army in Russia after the Ukrainian armed forces, is what you have to see. All these decades of Soviet and then Russian propaganda messages created a fake and totally distorted image of a country that is actually collapsing. Recently, in his interview, the head of Ukrainian intelligence, Budanov, said that, according to Russia's own analysis, they can continue this war only until 2026, because by then the effects on Russia's economy and the need to start all mobilization, all around the country, will be a great problem for Putin's regime. Hopefully, this will happen even earlier with more and more attacks on Russian military objects inside the Russian Federation. Actually, the term that I hate when we talk in the context of Ukraine, fatigue, but in the context of Russia, I like it, and this fatigue is very real even inside the depoliticized Russian population. So let's get back to Kursk and what is happening there right now. Ukrainian armed forces continue to control the territory that was captured by us really quickly in comparison to what Russians try to do on Ukrainian front lines. And despite the fact that Putin actually acted according to our Ukrainian plan and took away lots of professional soldiers from Pokrovsk direction and other front lines in Ukraine to Kursk, his counteroffensive inside the Russian Federation is very unsuccessful. At this moment, they cannot get their territory under control again, but don't worry, we will return it, we will happily exchange it for 1991 Ukrainian borders. What is more interesting for me from the civilian perspective is that, first of all, Russian population in the villages and towns that are now under the control of Ukraine feel totally relaxed and actually start helping Ukrainian soldiers. All because the soldiers that were sent by Putin to apply the scorched earth policy on their own Russian lands do insane crimes also on the Russian side. And many of them come from Kadyrov units, Akhmat units, and these are very violent and at the same time cowardly people. When they need to protect something, they escape and hide in the forests, but they are always ready to beat, rape, loot, even Russian population. And that's why it is already a very vivid, I'd say, a contagious process when more and more Russian people actually tell about the positions of these Chechen soldiers around Kursk settlements, thus helping Ukrainian soldiers to capture them and neutralize. What is more interesting, nobody wants to exchange them. That is another paradox of Russian army. They say nobody needs you. That's the way they treat their own soldiers. If you want to see Russia defeated, I'm sure this will happen sometime soon. Subscribe, we will discuss that in details on the channel. So, Kursk is an illustration that there are no red lines for Putin, that Russia can and will be defeated. And one of the main things that many people around the world, and I know actually not ordinary people like you and me, but those global decision makers should stop being afraid and, for example, allow Ukraine strike back. At the moment, Russia uses its evil potential to destroy Ukrainian cities. Once again, they actually do not occupy territories. They simply burn the territories and get the ashes. And right now, a couple of hours before recording this video, I've learned about another brutal attack on Kharkiv. And once again, Russians targeted a civilian apartment building. Photos, videos clearly prove that, and it's very painful to see really elderly people in sleepers that leave their flat understanding they will never come back because the building is endangered and partially destroyed. That's a tragedy that can be prevented, same as losses of lots of very precious lives, including children. If you look at what targets we choose in Russia, I'm sure this can only convince you that Ukraine is a trustworthy partner. These are only military objects or objects closely connected with military complex, like oil refineries that are needed to fuel Russian machine. And this week was another week of massive drone attacks all around Russia, and I kind of like it that with every week there are more and more geography lessons when we discover this forgotten, rotten Russian locations based on the explosions of military objects there. And this week we've traveled to Moscow region, we've been to many parts of Russia, including Murmansk, where for 3 days in a row military objects were exploding. And that's fantastic because Murmansk is actually close to 2,000 kilometers away from Ukrainian border, and Russians cannot understand how is this happening. And all because we have really good drones and really good people that help collect money for these drones. Yesterday I was very happy to be a part of a team organized by amazing Sergey from European Resilience Initiative Center, and together with you and many other good people from literally every corner of the world, we've collected a lot. And I'm sure many more angry birds will travel deeper inside Russia, and you know, it's a beautiful investment for more geography lessons to come. And Murmansk is a location that is filled with military production plants and a very bad military airfield that definitely needs to be turned into ashes, because every Ukrainian knows the name of this Olenia airfield and fear and destruction that bombers from it can bring. But I have also read a couple of updates that maybe today another serious attack of Ukrainian drones happened on more Russian regions. I need to check this information and I will be happy to tell you more tomorrow. Unfortunately, leaders are still hesitant whether to let Ukraine strike back. Russians are moving many of their aircraft further from the front lines, but there are other decision-making points, military units location, ammunition warehouses that need to be cleared in our important strategy to demilitarize Russia and to make this planet a safer place. And once again, I want to return back to Budanov's interview. He's the head of Ukrainian intelligence, where he states that Russia is prepared to continue the war until 2026. You know, as a Ukrainian, I'm already very realistic about things. I understand it won't end in the next months, but There are definitely more and more symptoms with each month that this country, Russian Federation, is going to collapse. Subscribe to discuss that together on the channel and stop being afraid of that. There is a video that explains why we should not be afraid of the dissolution of Russia and why this process is very natural. And I'm linking it here. Hopefully, more debates, more discussions, more meeting, including the one during the United Nations meeting, will help. The amount of blackmail coming from Putin's, I don't even want to say dirty mouth because it's worse than that, is growing, but it's very typical for, once again, cornered rats. Let me know, do you know this metaphor and why actually it's so popular in the context of Putin? Because there is actually a life story of he is connected with rats, and I'm sure it's not surprising. If you want, I can make a separate video on that, and I think it's actually a perfect match, Putin and a rat. So he continues blackmailing that he is ready to attack the world with nuclear weapons, when I think this is just a bluff. Moreover, he is super concerned about his life, hiding in bunkers, building these really long tables, avoiding people, which definitely demonstrates he is not all in. He still believes that together with other authoritarian regimes, they can divide the world. But they also understand that if losing in Ukraine, Russia is no more a superpower. And actually, that's what we should want, because only the total military defeat of Russia can liberate Russians and many other peoples that now suffer from Kremlin. Many people continue looking for other solutions, when in reality this military defeat of Russia is needed for Russia even more than it is for Ukraine. Right now they are very close to become something like the Northern Korea, and I'm sure nobody wants North Korea of that size. So let's stay united and let's fuel these processes that can lead to, and I need to be kind for you too, but I'm sure you can get what I mean. So these processes that are needed for the liberation of Russia, just as we do that in Kursk region, that will return back to Russia after it is demilitarized and denazified, exactly what Putin and his supporters need. Join me on Instagram. I've shared some photos from my recent business trip, during which I managed to see some beautiful cities in France. Also, I'm on Threads and X and Discord. The links are in the description of this video. Join me on these social platforms, and please share the videos on the social platforms where you are present, because I am convinced there are not enough Ukrainian and pro-Ukrainian voices around the world, though those that exist are fantastic, and I'm very grateful for all the friends of Ukraine, both on YouTube and outside YouTube, and you in particular, for everything that you do all this time to support Ukraine and freedom around the world. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, and helping me film, write, and develop more projects. I'm very honored, blessed, and grateful to have you in my life. Thank you so much. Also, we have a beautiful merch shop that has lots of items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. You can check them following the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much for your attention, for your prayers, for your kind words and advice. Let me know in the comments below what other topics you'd like to discuss in our community. And Slava Ukraini!